What's up everyone, it's Eric again, and it's part 2 for the DeadPool tutorial. I know the part 1 was cut off at the end and I didn't get to show everything, but I don't know, it just happened that way. So what we're going to do today for part 2 of the tutorial is puff painting, freehand puff painting. Now there are many techniques, you don't have to stick with this one. This one is just my way of doing it. Whatever way is most comfortable for you, I suggest you use that one, but you know, play around. You might never know which one's more comfortable with you and gets the job done. Alright, so I have my DeadPool. His collar's on, and now you can see what that looks like. The pattern of this that I'm going to do is cross hatching that you've seen already. So kind of looks like this, just to give it a little texture. Now the cross hatching goes this way and this way. So I'm gonna work from hem to hem. I'm just gonna do a small section so that you can get the idea of how you would go about either puff painting or freehand puff painting, whatever you want to do. So as you can see, this is one of the hem lines, and this is where I'll either start or end. And there's a hem line here, if you see the thread. That'll be the other hem line that I'll go up to. I'm going to do this in a small section just so you get the idea. Like I said, I'm not going to do the whole thing on the video, just enough to give you a technique and an idea. So what you want to do, you need your puff paint, you need your suit. Now you have two ways to do this. One is you do it on your duct tape dummy, your mannequin, whatever, or you do it without anything on it, without your duct tape dummy, and you do it stretched across a cardboard with the fabric stretched out. That would be the ideal way to do it, and actually the best way to do it is if it wasn't sewn and you just did it while you can lay it flat and stretch it. So since it's already sewn and it's on my dummy, here's where we're gonna go. Now I already know the cross hatching pattern, so I'm just gonna show it to you. So I already know in my head that it's going this way and this way, but you're only going to get an idea of a small section. For me, the best way to do it is having my arm all the way up to where my bracelet is, the wrist all sitting on something so it doesn't get tired, because my main movement is going to be just from the wrist to get my straight lines. And it has nothing to do with my arm. My arm will just mess it up, because if I try to put my arm into it, you know, it's not going to work out. It's just going to get crooked. So let's let the work get underway, and you can see for yourself. Now, like I said, to do it in this kind of position is going to be hard, since the camera is the way it is and I don't have a tripod. Right now it's being held by clips, and it's not even a good camera, it's just a phone. So hopefully you'll be able to see. Now I'm going to start the pattern this way. Always make sure it's a clean tip. You don't have any dry bits in there, because that can ruin it. Air bubbles as well, but go slowly. These lines are going to be thin. I'm not gonna put thick lines down, because I don't want it to pop. I just want it to have a little bit of texture. So by doing that, you'll see what I mean. So I'm gonna start with hem to hem. So you're gonna see that. Hopefully you're gonna see that. Okay, it looks like while I was talking, I let a little bit too much of the tip dry. Always have handy your a wet towel, a wet Bounty, with your with a little, like a drop of dish soap on it, just in case of those mistakes. And oh, there you go. You see that? Oh, you don't see that, but now you see that. And your toothbrush, just in case. Here we go. I don't know if you're gonna see that. If you can see it, great. If you can't, I don't know what to say. Now you can see the action of the hand. It's not really even much of my arm. You only see my, well, I don't think you can see it, but you see it's only my hand from my wrist moving. I don't know if you can see those lines. There you go. You'll only see the reflection of the puff paint. Now this is how I generally do it. These are going to be my crosshatch lines. These are my free hands. Now I'll try to lay one down first before I do the other side, because while it's still wet, if you decide to do crosshatch and overlap it, you're just going to mess up the first line you put down. With the second way you do it, if I were to wait and then I do the crosshatch this way after it dries, the only section that's going to pop out is the section which the two lines meet, because then obviously it's a line over a line, and that's the only part that's going to pop out. I don't mind that too much. Ideally, if it was all flat, then that would consist of me doing this one pattern, waiting for it to dry, and then doing the other pattern but stopping and not touching the first line I put down. So let's say I did this and I want to cross hatch it without touching the line. I would meet one line to the next. I don't know if you see that. Probably not. One line to the next. One line to the next. Now I don't know if you see that. See that? So it's connecting lines. Now that is tedious Spider-Man shit, so I'm not gonna do that. I'm just gonna go straight through it once it dries, and I don't mind if one little small part of each line which overlaps is this. The overlapping part is the part that sticks out. I don't mind. So I'm just gonna keep going, and once I get down to a section, you'll probably get the idea. Now again, you can see it's not very slow, but it's not very fast as well. And by the time I get down to here, most of this part will dry, and you can see what I mean by a thin layer. So it's not going to pop out. Actually, it'll just set into the fabric and look flat. You don't really have to push down on the fabric when you're doing this as well. And you don't want to squeeze the bottle too much. You want to keep a consistent pressure so that the line looks consistent. Now here's where it starts to get rough, because now I'm moving down and there's no place to really put my wrist to rest. So it's awkward positioning, since I'll try my best, but if you feel like you're about to lose it, let it go. And then find another position where you can get that line again. Start it up again. Take your time, man. There's no need to rush this, especially if it's gonna be the detail part in your suit. So, yeah. Now, This was an inconsistent squeeze, and you'll see what I mean. When you get inconsistent squeezes, you see the break in the line. Easy way to fix it. Don't even squeeze, just wait till it comes out on its own and drag it along until it meets the next one. You might have to squeeze just a tiny bit just to get a tip out, because you don't want to mess it up. Alright, so let me continue with that. Now, I'm actually holding the bottle like I hold my pens when I draw, pencils, pens, whatever. When I draw, I hold it with 3 fingers. It's the middle, the index, and the thumb. So these are basically doing nothing but resting against something so that I can keep it up like that. You see? So I'm resting on it. Maybe not. Sometimes I might be resting my middle finger on it. Like I'll clasp this close and the middle finger will rest on it. Like that. So, yeah. Okay, losing it. You always want to be aware of where your bottle is. Also, there you go. Because if let's see his shoulder here protrudes out. And if I'm too far sideways and I'm starting over here and I'm going down and I bump into this part, I screw up my line. Because let's say I'm doing this and bump. So, if I can show you an example. Alright, so let's say you go like this, you're putting down a line. Already, this part underneath the tip is already hitting here before the tip goes on the fabric. I'm so sorry about that, guys. But, yeah. And that's what I mean. So, be careful. Always know where your bottle is and what it's going to touch and what it's going to run into, because you don't want to mess with your lines and do it all over again. Ideally, you'll want to keep it either... You don't want it completely straight down, and you don't kind of want it this way, but in certain situations, you'll find yourself not having a choice. So try to be careful and maintain consistency. My preference is, I don't know what degree is this, 30, 90, whatever. So I'd like to keep it at this degree. See there, kind of had a mess up and I had to let it go. And I'm taking too long, so the puff paint will, you see how I keep taking breaks, but you see if you're squeezing puff paint and you're giving it enough time to dry, it'll start to clog up a bit. It's not clogged, but it's getting there. So when you have that and you're trying to put down a line, don't do it. Just wipe it off. If you waste that little bit, then so be it. Let's start with a clean one, because you'll have a really gloppy line, if anyone would even understand what that meant. So it'll be like a thin, smooth line and then blup, like one thick chunk in one spot, and no one really likes that. Well, I don't like that. Alright, so this is where I'm going to stop for you guys. And example. So guys, this is what the pattern would look like. You see where inconsistent squeezes come from. You see like a little blub, 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 blub. But for the most part, these are my lines that I'm putting down. Now you see it goes from one to the next. Alright, so I'm going to show you what the other side looks like. So if you can see this, it's not really raised too much. It's actually pretty flat. What you're seeing raised, it's not really raised, it's the reflection of the light, but it's actually pretty flat. It doesn't raise at all, but I gotta find another section. Okay, if you can see clearly, you see the lines, right? Now, the first line going this way, take the one I'm pointing at, it's barely noticeably there. And then when you see this line coming across it, you can kind of see it's there. But in the middle, where they both connect, you can see that this line was painted over this line, because where it goes on top of that line, it's raised and it actually looks shinier because the light's actually catching it better. And that's what I mean by going over, making, well, a layer. But overall, this is what the patterns look like. It's not really, it doesn't pop out like the webbings on the Spider-Man. The web line. It's not the blue brick pattern, but the blue brick pattern for the, and the red brick pattern for that fact, for the Amazing Spider-Man 1 actually is thicker. So that's it. This is part 2. I'll see you for part 3 whenever I get that done. I don't know what part 3 is going to be. Oh, part 3. Hopefully the mask. I'm sorry, I'm really tired. I'll see you guys later. Have a good one.